Alicia Ortiz is 19 years old, and she can't read or write.
Do you know what this word is?
No.
She graduated from Hartford Public High School and was accepted to UConn, but she says the system failed her.
So I'm scrolling around on theinternet.com looking for things to get angry at when all of a sudden, out of the blue, a friend of mine on theinternet.com had dropped this story off in my direct messages asking me if I had seen it before. And obviously I have not seen this because this is the story of a girl called Alicia Ortiz who is currently embattled with the state of Connecticut and their Department of Education in a lawsuit because she managed to graduate one of their high schools without actually knowing how to read or write, and in fact actually doesn't know how to hold a pencil according to this complaint. And the crazy thing about this particular story is that initially when I heard that she came from Puerto Rico to the state of Connecticut, I thought we were going to run into the issue where her first language was Spanish, she was able to read and write in Spanish, however she was never taught by the Connecticut education system to write in English, and in reality it wasn't really their fault because the thing is she must have came later in life. But it turns out none of the sensible or even possible or plausible explanations for how this came to fruition actually fit, and this story is crazier than you know. And by the way, the documents from the Connecticut side, the Department of Education side in that state, are significantly more damning than the allegations, or allegations as the super mayor would call them,
false allegations and not facts,
from Alicia Ortiz. So this is what we're going to talk about today. This is what we're going to discuss. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
The school system that I grew up in really took my childhood and my teenager years.
When Alicia moved to Connecticut from Puerto Rico for first grade, she says she was already diagnosed with ADHD and had learning difficulties. She was put in a special education program, but now alleges in a new lawsuit that Hartford Public Schools didn't give her the resources she needed.
And I was ignored. You know, I'm a human being.
So first of all, the fact that this girl came from Puerto Rico to the mainland, to the state of Connecticut, is absolutely irrelevant to this particular story, because the fact is she came during the first grade, and that is more than enough time for her to actually learn to read and write in English, if of course we have a competent education system. And the crazy thing is that in the United States of America, we have little graduation ceremonies basically every step of the way, all the way through high school, even though high school is traditionally considered the only graduation that matters. So this girl would have had to have graduated from elementary school, from middle school, gotten her way through high school, and got accepted into university, despite the fact that she was illiterate. And by the way, I'm not joking about that. She could not read or write. According to these complaints, she couldn't actually hold a pencil, and the way that she managed to get herself through this public education system is by using technology to essentially read for her, and then use like text to speech or speech to text in order to respond to her homework questions, a process that took hours. And by the way, according to the complaint, the school was well aware of, but they did nothing to help her.
According to the student, sixth grade evaluation showed her reading at a, quote, kindergarten or first grade level. And in high school, more testing revealed, quote, major deficiencies. Alicia says she pushed for more tests and support as she had through the years, and now specifically for dyslexia, but claims not enough was done. Before graduation, she tested again with, quote, severe and very low scores, according to the suit.
Now, I'm going to link the entirety of the legal complaint in the description of this video. It's only 11 pages long, which makes sense because the girl can't write, so why would she write something lengthy? Just kidding, everybody. It's just jokes. It's just comedy. But it's actually an incredibly sad tale because the state of Connecticut completely failed this girl in every possible regard, and she actually went through a series of depressive episodes as a result of her embarrassment from not being able to read. And this is even more depressing because you guys all know where I'm going with this. The girl's actually super cute. In fact, I am quite into her. You guys are probably into her. And honestly, let's be 100% serious about this. The fact that she can't read or write kind of makes her more attractive. Am I the only one who thinks that? Am I the only one who's saying that? Listen, guys, it's just jokes. It's just comedy. And Alicia, if you're out there and you stumble across this video, I do want to say that I'm entirely sympathetic to your cause, and I actually find it even more impressive that you had these learning disabilities that, by the way, are no fault of your own, and without the assistance of the public school system, you were still able to complete your work. You were still able to graduate, again, through your own intellect and through your own problem solving. So if we can get this girl up to speed, if we can get her a little bit of hooked on phonics, which by the way, I looked it up, only cost $229 for like the first major set, age 3 to 8. They could have got this for her 20 years ago when she had this problem, or 15 years ago, since she's 19 at the time of recording this video, and there would be no issue at all whatsoever. But apparently that was a bridge too far for the state of Connecticut, and repeatedly throughout multiple different evaluations of her ability to read, they acknowledge that she had these problems, that she was not following along, and in fact, they documented her behavior as a result of her embarrassment of the fact that she could not read or write, and yet they did nothing about it.
Hartford Public High School is 71% Hispanic. Connecticut spends a lot on special ed compared to other states.
Now, there's actually a lot in this NBC News segment, which will also be linked in the description, that I'm not showing you guys right now because I'm not just trying to rip their entire segment. But what I find interesting about this is the breakdown of the per pupil spending in the state of Connecticut when it comes to children with disabilities, because it's actually significantly higher than the rate that they spend on kids without these disabilities. And this is due to the fact that schools in the United States of America are hiring a tremendous amount of this support staff. But the thing is, a lot of parents end up getting their kids diagnosed with all sorts of conditions in order for them to get extra time. So what happens a lot of the time is that these professionals that are supposed to be working with kids with disabilities are actually being diverted to kids without disabilities that, again, parents are just trying to give advantages to. Now, of course, they talk about the language barrier that the mother had in terms of communicating with the school system in the state of Connecticut. Now, this is absolutely ridiculous because apparently this girl went to a school that was 71% Hispanic, so you would think they would have some level of translation in order to communicate with this parent, but this was a long-term struggle for Alicia Ortiz and her mother, as again, they had been fighting for some kind of care, for some kind of help, for some kind of assistance since the first grade. That is a very long time to not get the help from your public school system, especially when, again, there is additional money in the public school system specifically for children like Alicia, or at least they're supposed to be. But where is that money going should be the question that is asked by everybody in that particular state, because again, if she is allowed to slip through the cracks and then graduate high school and get into university without being able to read or write, something is seriously wrong in the state of Connecticut. Now, of course, they end up going with the underfunding explanation for this particular school. This, make no mistake about it, is not an underfunding issue. If you have a child with a disability and you document it multiple different times and you're spending this much money per disabled student in your public school system, you should be able to resolve this. Again, hooked on phonics, only $229. Don't make me start a GoFundMe for Alicia to get hooked on phonics because it's not that difficult. But yeah, the state of Connecticut obviously didn't care about these kids, and this is because, as I've said time and time again, that big number in terms of per pupil spending doesn't actually make its way to the child, because public education is not about the children in the public education system. It is about the adults that work in public education. Never forget it.
Alicia's lawsuit takes on the Hartford Board of Ed, the city, and one of her special education teachers claiming negligence. Also alleging the defendants, quote, failed to take any effective action to protect and or save her, the plaintiff, from the ongoing bullying, harassment, and or neglect. The city and district saying they wouldn't comment on pending litigation, but the district also telling us, quote, we remain deeply committed to meeting the full range of needs our students bring with them when they enter our schools and helping them reach their full potential.
Now, here's what's crazy, because this is not an instance of somebody that was given a break time and time again by the public school systems, couldn't read, but was just trying to pass through as quickly as possible. That is now, after the fact, turning around and suing the school. If you actually look at the lawsuit, again, the documentation from the school significantly more damning than what she's actually complaining. And again, I will read directly from the complaint so you can understand what I mean. This is from line 35 of her complaint. On May 23rd, 2023, near the end of the plaintiff's junior year, a school social worker wrote a report detailing the plaintiff's struggles, which stated that the plaintiff A, consistently and persistently advocated for reading and writing supports, B, reported that she could not write and could barely hold a pencil, That seems rather odd. C, reported that she struggled to sit and write in class. This probably has to do with the ADHD diagnosis. And D, that she had to take work home to use talk to text on her computer. Now, there's also another documented event that happened in March of 2024, the next year, where they went over these same issues. But the point is, the school had documentation of all of the outrageous claims that are made in this lawsuit and this NBC News segment. And by the way, the local news segment that ended up getting this story national attention. And it seems like if all of this information is being documented by the school and they're not doing anything about it, then yes, there is a level of negligence in this particular story that is beyond measure.
The special ed teacher named in the suit didn't respond to our request for comment. Alicia says she attempted suicide twice, the last time just weeks before we met.
Do you know now it's not your fault?
I'm trying to understand that now. But when you spend your whole life believing that you're stupid and that your voice don't matter, it's very hard to acknowledge that, to feel proud of yourself.
So like I said, this story actually makes me incredibly sad, and obviously, Alicia, you definitely should not try to take your own life as a response to this. Like I said, very attractive girl, actually quite impressive that you were able to figure out a workaround to get you through U.S. public education without being able to read or write, and that workaround to use technology, so obviously there's something there. And again, I'm just saying, I'm just bringing up this point, attractive girl that may be a little bit more attractive based on the idea that she can't read or write. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, the boys over at UConn, they found themselves a prize right here. But all joking aside, I really do hope she gets the help that she needs. And again, Hooked on Phonics, state of Connecticut. I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. $229. Get it shipped to you in 2 days from Amazon. Let me link that in the description in case you guys are struggling, because you could have helped this girl out a long time ago. And that's the sad thing about this, because I have minor issues with dyslexia myself. I will flip words or flip letters and whatnot. It happens occasionally. It's not a big deal. It's nothing that is all that serious, but obviously there are more serious versions of this particular issue. She tends to have one, and you can work through this. I remember this from a Static Shock episode featuring Rubber Band Man in order to get better results. And yeah, they just never taught her the techniques in order to do that. So she seems years behind, over a decade behind. And yeah, she's really beating herself up about it, but it's really unfortunate. And by the way, I actually looked into this, and it turns out the method that she used in her recent attempt closely associated to this NBC News interview was pills. But the thing is, luckily for all of us, she couldn't actually read the pill bottle, so what she actually took was this vitamin B complex. So all it did was turn her pee bright yellow, which I think is kind of a good thing and kind of a silver lining in this whole she can't read story. Again, guys, I'm just kidding. It's just comedy. Just relax. It's all jokes. I'm glad that this girl's okay. I feel absolutely terrible for her. She is a Puerto Rican tribesman like myself. And again, the real villain in this particular story, make no mistake about it, is the state of Connecticut that ignored this girl's needs, which by the way, is definitely 100% illegal. Now, I will also point out that the local news segment actually has a different villain in mind. You will be surprised, or maybe you won't be surprised, that they actually bring on an expert to blame the evil bad orange man for it, because as we all know, Trump bad.
Trump simply hearing Trump over and over again.
The Department of Education's a big con job.
Plus, Turner fears a crucial guardrail will be lost if the Trump administration follows through with abolishing the Department of Education.
How do I protect the special education children? Who do I go to if I close it down?
And the thing is, this guy essentially makes the case that Trump getting rid of the Department of Education would mean that stuff like this is more likely to happen. But the thing is, Joe Biden was president when this lawsuit was filed. In fact, through the entirety of her being in high school. And yeah, the Department of Education being fully funded and having increased funding, plus a bunch of federal stimulus money going into local public education systems around the country, didn't actually prevent this. So the weird local news angle that they wanted to turn this into an Orange Man bad story, we're going to set that aside for a moment, and we're just going to say we are sorry to Alicia Ortiz. I hope she gets the money that she deserves from the state of Connecticut. And by the way, I also hope that she actually ends up developing the ability to read, because like I said, this is not somebody who lacks for intelligence from what I can see. It's somebody that has a disability that was not aided in the way that she should have been aided, and she managed to figure out a workaround on her own, even though again, it took significantly longer for her to complete her assignments, and that's absolutely unacceptable. But again, it is the standard norm in public education for them to screw it up, because public education is about those working in public education. It's about hiring as many people as possible in order to keep the machine going, not actually serving the students in need, and that's what is absolutely disgusting about this. So again, from Alicia, me to you, actual justice warrior to girl in Connecticut, currently in Yukon, I feel bad for what happened to you. I wish you well, and yeah, I don't really have anything else to say other than good luck in your lawsuit, and when this case settles, we will definitely cover it. Now, with all that being said, I will leave it up to you guys out there in the audience. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute madness going on in Connecticut. Till next time.